With so many AAA big-budget games and countless indie games across genres, it's increasingly rare to see a AA game with a modest budget and scope break through and make waves in the industry. It's even less common for that game to confidently and consistently emulate a series with the caliber of The Elder Scrolls. With Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon, though, developer Questline has built a tight, satisfying Scrolls-like that effectively captures so much of what makes its influences so great in the context of the dark fantasy Arthurian world of Tainted Grail. While it doesn't always stray from its influences and is littered with technical issues big and small that frequently took me out of the experience, The Fall of Avalon brings its perilous world to life beautifully, with an impactful story and an expansive open world that shows incredible potential for this world and genre. For those unfamiliar, Tainted Grail is a franchise based on a dark fantasy version of the legend of King Arthur, though this world is much more dangerous than traditional stories of Camelot. To this point, the franchise has only existed in board game format, including one of the same name. But The Fall of Avalon, which has been in early access since 2023, is now ready to finally launch, and is the franchise's first foray into interactivity. But while the franchise is new to games, its systems are heavily inspired by existing successful games, and it wears its influences squarely on its sleeves. The most notable is The Elder Scrolls, as the opening sequence could have been picked directly from a Scrolls game. You awaken as an unnamed prisoner in a jail cell, you meet a mysterious figure who helps you escape, and find out that you're the chosen one. In this case, you happen to house part of the soul of the long-dead King Arthur, and it's your quest to collect the remainder of his souls from across the world of Avalon. It's from here that you're sent out in the open world, to continue along that quest while finding tons of side quests, bounties, and errands to complete in the meantime. Narratively, The Fall of Avalon's biggest strength is its characters, all of whom are well written and well acted. Your ability to talk to King Arthur and hear his perspective gives a unique spin on a relatively familiar story, and most other characters, from Merlin to a generic shopkeep, will leave you with a memorable one-liner or story. The cast brings you deeper into the world and makes you want to learn more about what's familiar in this version of the story and what's changed. And even with the traditional deadpan stares that these NPCs can have, they do bring key moments to life. The visuals are less enticing and look somewhat dated, although cutscenes are.
Perhaps, in time, I'll remember more. But that's enough questions for now. Let us walk together and see the kingdom forged so long ago. After years of struggle, my people in Avalon finally live in peace and prosperity.
The rest of the main story is relatively commonplace, though its branching pathways give me reason to go back for more through playthroughs. As is common in the genre, your alliance and enemies determine how the pieces of King Arthur's souls are used, and you spend just as much effort on your ally side content as you do on the main content. There are a few shocking moments that were direct results of my decisions, and it's clear where you can have a major impact on the outcome of the world and its characters, such as a moment where I had decided whether or not to carry about an assassination. By the end, the campaign isn't revolutionary, especially for a game in the genre, but there are some exciting moments and a lot of potential replayability that I'm excited to explore. From a gameplay perspective, The Fall of Avalon is an unbridled Western RPG that's most similar to The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. You allocate points to various attributes such as strength, endurance, and dexterity, and your playstyle determines progress for the underlying stats, such as one-handed and two-handed weapons, light and heavy armor, and agility. There's tons to explore and find across the maps, particularly with caves and other dungeons scattered around the world, which give you better weapons, stronger magic, and new quests. You have a full suite of swords, bows, armor, magic, and other equipment, as well as your special abilities from King Arthur. And the game offers decent flexibility in making each different weapon feel satisfying and throwing different types of enemies at you that test your skills in different ways, both in the story and in the game. It features a full day-night cycle, and some nights become what's called the Weird Night, meaning that a dangerous fog known as the Weird comes over the town and summons strong demons that you can either fight or avoid. Combat feels mostly satisfying, though it's not always intuitive how to defeat certain enemies, and there are definitely moments where the game's inherent wonkiness makes it more difficult to tell when an enemy is attacking. I always felt rewarded for exploring or going off the beaten path though, and the game's more forgiving encumbrance system and economy made it so that I always felt able to find new and improved gear. With all of this game often feels like a tighter version of a Western RPG, but it takes influences elsewhere as well. Primarily, the Fall of Avalon isn't impossibly long at 25 hours or so to finish, but its structure gives you much more freedom in your progression. The main campaign consists of a dozen or so missions, but it encourages you to explore and get stronger on your own between the missions, both explicitly and by the fact that you will likely get pummeled by the first enemies you see in the next mission. The difficulty spikes can be sudden, but the fact that there aren't too many main quests means that you're encouraged to explore and see what the world has at your own pace in order to level up through side quests or dungeons. The overall difficulty ramps up as you approach the end as well, and particular fights can be frustrating, but I never felt like any part of the gameplay was unfair. Unfortunately, what did mar my experience and what matched the Elder Scrolls tradition was the slew of technical issues I encountered playing on PS5. Some bugs are enjoyable or ignorable, like lines of dialogue cutting out or character models floating away, but I also encountered more invasive bugs, including one that made my character's model clip onto the screen persistently, and another that corrupted my save file at about 15 hours and forced me to restart. A Day 1 patch reportedly has smoothed out some of these issues, but it's disappointing to see a game in early access for so long come out with these types of issues. Technical issues aside, Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon puts the AA spin on the classic formula of the Elder Scrolls, with its own twists and unique aspects. There is so much to do across the world of Avalon to learn about the dark history of King Arthur and everyone that surrounded him, and the overall narrative is surprisingly engaging for this setting. The freedom offered in gameplay is a refreshing touch that allows you freedom to see and explore the world and fight some terrifying enemies. While technical issues plague the experience, what's underneath is an incredibly ambitious and generally well-executed transition into games for the Tainted Grail franchise, and it's an exciting vision for what this franchise and genre can be. Despite some major technical issues, Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon is an exciting Scrolls-like that offers a tightly scoped RPG experience that shows a ton of potential for the franchise and genre. Hey, did you know that we at Gaming Bolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.